Legacy and future outlook of Ibrahim Traoré. 1. A symbol of youthful resistance. Ibrahim Traoré's rise marked a generational shift in African leadership. As one of the youngest heads of state in the world, he became a symbol of defiance against colonial legacies and Western domination. His courage resonated deeply with the youth across Africa, igniting a renewed call for sovereignty, justice, and Pan-African unity. 2. Reshaping African geopolitics. Traoré's leadership has already changed the political map of the Sahel through the formation of the Alliance of Sahel States, AES. He helped build a new bloc of military-led nations rejecting old alliances and embracing African solutions for African problems. This has challenged traditional power structures like ECOWAS and forced a re-evaluation of foreign influence in the region. 3. Controversial but charismatic. While praised by many as a revolutionary figure, Traoré's approach has not come without criticism. Concerns over democratic backsliding, delayed elections, and limitations on civil liberties have sparked debates about the cost of rapid change. His legacy will be shaped by whether he can balance strong leadership with inclusive governance. 4. Potential architect of a new African era. If Traoré continues on his current trajectory, prioritizing sovereignty, regional unity, and decolonization, he may be remembered as a pivotal figure in Africa's 21st century rebirth. His actions could lay the foundation for a more multipolar, self-reliant, and united Africa. 5. The road ahead. The true test of Traoré's legacy will be in long-term stability, development, and democratic transition. Will he transform military momentum into lasting institutions? Will Burkina Faso become a model of African-led governance? The world is watching, and so is history. Controversial but charismatic. The dual image of Ibrahim Traoré. Ibrahim Traoré is a leader who divides opinion, yet commands attention. He is as charismatic as he is controversial, standing at the intersection of admiration and critique. To millions of Africans, especially the youth, he's a heroic symbol of defiance, a bold voice against neocolonialism, a fearless advocate of African sovereignty, and a leader who dares to say no to foreign domination. His speeches resonate with revolutionary fire, and his presence commands respect. He walks in the footsteps of Sankara, and many believe he's reviving that spirit. But for critics, both inside and outside Burkina Faso, Traoré's rule raises red flags. Delayed elections, tightened control over the media, and an increasingly militarized political environment have sparked concerns about democratic erosion and authoritarian tendencies. International organizations and Western governments often view his leadership with skepticism, labeling him a destabilizing force. But within the region, many see him as necessary disruption, a product of long-standing injustice and a broken system. In truth, Ibrahim Traoré's power doesn't lie in being perfect. It lies in being unapologetically bold. Whether you see him as a revolutionary or a renegade, there's one thing no one can deny. He is reshaping the narrative. Potential architect of a new African era. Ibrahim Traoré's visionary path. Ibrahim Traoré stands on the frontier of a bold possibility, becoming a foundational figure in the making of a new African era. At a time when many leaders tread carefully, Traoré chose to challenge everything: colonial legacies, foreign military presence, economic dependency, and even the rules of diplomacy. In doing so, he has positioned himself not just as a national leader, but as a continental voice for African reawakening. Through the Alliance of Sahel States, he is pushing for a future where African nations defend each other, trade together, and rise together, without asking permission from former colonizers. His emphasis on sovereignty, dignity, and youth empowerment could lay the groundwork for a new generation of self-defined governance in Africa. Yet the weight of this vision is heavy. If Traoré manages to stabilize Burkina Faso, empower its people, and maintain unity without falling into authoritarianism, he could become the blueprint for a new type of leadership, one rooted in courage, not compliance. But if the revolution falters or turns inward, his legacy may become a warning rather than a model. Still, one thing is clear. Ibrahim Traoré has sparked a movement, and if he stays true to his principles, he could become a historic architect of a sovereign, unified, and self-reliant Africa, an Africa that finally defines itself on its own terms. The road ahead, what the future holds for Ibrahim Traoré. Ibrahim Traoré has ignited a movement, but the hardest part is still to come. As the revolutionary fire burns across Burkina Faso and beyond, the question on everyone's mind is, what happens next? Can Traoré transform rebellion into sustainable governance? Can he turn resistance into results? The road ahead is filled with challenges. Jihadist insurgencies continue to threaten national stability. The economy, strained by sanctions and isolation, demands urgent revival. And the people, passionate, hopeful, and watching closely, expect real change, not just bold speeches. To secure his legacy, Traoré must move from military command to civil transformation, strengthen institutions, uplift education and infrastructure, deliver on promises of justice, sovereignty, and self-reliance. He must also confront a difficult truth. Staying too long in power may betray the very ideals that brought him there. True revolutionary leaders know when to lead and when to let others rise. Still, the road ahead holds immense possibility. If walked with wisdom and integrity, Ibrahim Traoré could help shape a new African model, one not built on foreign blueprints, but forged from African dreams. History is watching, Africa is watching, and the next step may define a generation. Ibrahim Traoré, a foundational figure in the making of a new African era. In the shifting sand of African politics, few names carried away to change like Ibrahim Traoré. Young, fearless, and deeply rooted in the spirit of Pan-Africanism, Traoré is not just leading Burkina Faso. He's helping lay the foundation for a new era in African identity and sovereignty. At a time when many nations are caught between outdated alliances and emerging global powers, he is choosing a third path, an Africa that leads itself. His rhetoric echoes the voices of great revolutionaries like Thomas Sankara and Kwame Nkrumah, yet his approach is modern, bold in diplomacy, disruptive in strategy, and relentless in rejecting neo-colonial influence. Whether it is stance against foreign military presence, his push for regional alliances like the Alliance of Sahel States, or his unapologetic calls for economic independence, Traoré is building more than policy. He's building a new mindset. But foundational figures are remembered not only for how they rise, but for how they build. Will he cement his place in history as a unifier, a reformer, a true servant of the people? Or will he become a fleeting fire that couldn't stand the test of time? The bricks are being laid, the blueprint is in motion, and the continent is watching as a new African era begins to take shape with Ibrahim Traoré at its front lines. Ibrahim Traoré, a continental voice for African reawakening. In a time where silence served the status quo, Ibrahim Traoré chose to speak, and the continent listened. With each speech, each decision, and each bold rejection of foreign control, Traoré has become more than a national leader. He's evolved into a continental voice for African reawakening. He speaks the language of freedom, not borrowed from the West, but rooted in the legacy of African revolutionaries. He doesn't ask for reform. He demands transformation. His message? Africa must reclaim its voice, its wealth, and its destiny. Through his leadership in forging alliances like the Alliance of Sahel States, expelling foreign troops, and championing resource sovereignty, Traoré is inspiring a generation to question, to rise, and to believe in Africa for Africans. He is not just echoing old dreams. He is reviving them, rearming them with purpose, and projecting them with courage across borders. This is more than politics. This is reawakening. The road ahead is filled with challenges. Ibrahim Traoré's journey forward. The road ahead for Ibrahim Traoré is anything but smooth. While he has ignited a revolution of ideas and action, the future is fraught with challenges that will test his vision, resilience, and leadership. Security remains a foremost issue. Burkina Faso, like many countries in Sahel, is plagued by jihadist insurgencies that continue to threaten national stability. The military must not only defend the borders, but also rebuild trust with the people and create a lasting peace. The economic burden is another obstacle. Sanctions, international isolation, and a strained economy weigh heavily on the nation's future. Traoré's promise of self-reliance and resource control will be tested by the harsh realities of a world that still holds Africa's markets, infrastructure, and development aid in its grip. Political stability and governance will also be a critical test. As a military leader, Traoré's challenge is to balance power without falling into the trap of authoritarianism. The pressure to deliver democratic elections and ensure civil freedoms will be his defining struggle. Can he create a system that is inclusive, fair, and sustainable for future generations? But amid these challenges lies the potential for greatness. The road ahead is not just about surviving, but about thriving, building institutions, strengthening alliances, and creating a legacy of independence that will transcend his time in office. For Ibrahim Traoré, the road ahead is a defining journey of his leadership. It will require all his strength, vision, and resolve. And if he succeeds, his name will be remembered not just as a president, but as a revolutionary who reshaped the future of Africa. The economic burden is another obstacle. Ibrahim Traoré's struggle for stability. One of the most formidable challenges that Ibrahim Traoré faces in his quest to reshape Burkina Faso and the broader African landscape is the economic burden weighing down his revolution. While his rhetoric promises self-reliance, resource control, and independence from foreign influence, the reality of economic dependence and global isolation looms large. The Sahel region, already struggling with poverty and underdevelopment, faces additional pressures due to sanctions, limited foreign investment, and a lack of access to international financial institutions. The military-led government has also faced economic sanctions from ECOWAS and Western nations, further straining an already fragile economy. How will Traoré balance the scales? Natural resources, such as Burkina Faso's gold, have been central to his calls for national control, but the global market's fluctuations and the need for international trade partnerships pose ongoing risks. Infrastructure needs are vast, from roads to electricity, agriculture to healthcare, all requiring substantial investments, many of which must come from the global community that might view his administration with skepticism. Youth unemployment and the demand for social welfare programs also put immense pressure on the government, requiring not only political solutions, but economic strategies that will create jobs, boost local production, and build a more self-sustaining economy. For Ibrahim Traoré, the economic challenge is not just about navigating sanctions or financial isolation. It's about transforming an economy that has been built on dependency into one that thrives through innovation, regional cooperation, and resource management. The true test of his leadership will be whether he can deliver prosperity amidst adversity and shift the economic tide toward a self-sufficient future for his people.